The clock above the counter ticked away the seconds, each passing moment dragging with it a sense of isolation. I was alone in the 24-hour coffee shop, surrounded by the hum of refrigerators and the soft gurgle of coffee machines. The neon lights outside flickered intermittently, casting eerie shadows on the worn-out booths and empty tables. As the lone employee on the midnight shift, the stillness of the early morning hours became both my companion and my captor. The espresso machine hissed as I prepared a cup for myself, the warmth offering a brief respite from the chill that seemed to seep through the windows. The streets outside lay deserted, the occasional street lamp casting long, foreboding shadows across the empty sidewalks. As I sipped my coffee and gazed out into the silence, a soft knock echoed through the coffee shop. Startled, I turned toward the sound, my eyes narrowing at the window facing the dimly lit street. The knocking was gentle, almost hesitant, as if someone sought entrance into the haven of the coffee shop. Curiosity mingled with a subtle sense of unease as I approached the window. Peering into the darkness outside, I saw nothing but the reflection of the interior lights against the glass. The knock, it seemed, was a mystery with no immediate answer. I dismissed it as a figment of my imagination, a product of the solitude that enveloped me. Returning to my duties, I tried to shake off the lingering unease. As I settled back behind the counter, the knocking returned. This time, it was more insistent, a deliberate rap against the window that cut through the ambient noise of the coffee shop. I turned toward the sound, my eyes widening in bewilderment. Once again, the street outside revealed nothing but the quiet emptiness of the night. A sense of disquiet settled in the pit of my stomach. The knocks, though seemingly harmless, bore an inexplicable weight. I hesitated, torn between investigating the mystery and dismissing it as a mere curiosity. Ignoring the knocks, I busied myself with cleaning tasks, trying to convince myself that the sound was nothing more than the result of the building settling or a trick of the night. Yet, as I wiped down the counters and rearranged the condiments, the knocks persisted, each one a reminder that I was not truly alone in the stillness of the coffee shop. As the minutes stretched into an uneasy silence, the knocks escalated. What had started as a gentle tapping had transformed into a relentless barrage. The sound echoing through the coffee shop, the insistent plea for attention. My attempts to ignore it grew futile, and a sense of dread settled over me like a suffocating shroud. Resigned to confront the source of the disturbance, I approached the window cautiously. The knocks, now more forceful, reverberated through the glass. I strained my eyes, searching for any sign of the mysterious visitor, but the night outside remained stubbornly empty. Frustration mingled with fear as I contemplated the inexplicable phenomenon. The deserted streets offered no solace, and the knocking, now a cacophony of sounds, seemed to penetrate the very walls of the coffee shop. A sense of helplessness gripped me as I grappled with the realization that the source of the disturbance might elude comprehension. In a moment of uneasy decision, I moved to the entrance and locked the door. The mechanism clicked into place, creating a barrier between me and the unseen presence that haunted the night. I stood there, my hand on the door handle, listening intently for any sign that the knocking had ceased. For a moment, there was only silence, a fleeting respite from the disconcerting sounds that had plagued me. I exhaled, the tension easing from my shoulders. Perhaps the act of securing the door had severed the connection to the mysterious knocker, granting me a semblance of control over the situation. Just as I dared to entertain the notion that the disturbance had subsided, a new sound shattered the fragile peace. This time, it was not a knock but a muffled, guttural growl that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the coffee shop. The air grew thick with an indescribable malevolence, and a cold sweat formed on my brow. The growling intensified, morphing into a series of incoherent murmurs that sent shivers down my spine. The very fabric of reality seemed to warp, and the coffee shop, once a place of refuge, became a chamber of the unexplainable. The growling persisted, its origin now seemingly within the very structure of the building. Panic set in as I realized that the threat was not outside the coffee shop, but had infiltrated its interior. The ceiling vents, typically unnoticed, became ominous openings through which an unseen danger lurked. A shadow moved within the vents, contorting in unnatural ways. The growls grew into guttural screams, and a pair of wild eyes appeared, locked onto mine with a manic intensity. Horror paralyzed me as the crazed figure wreathed within the confines of the ventilation system, limbs contorted in an unnatural dance. "Let me in," the figure shrieked, its voice a discordant symphony of desperation and madness. The pleas turned into threats, and the coffee shop, once a bastion of solitude, became a battleground between me and the unseen intruder. In a desperate bid to escape the madness, I retreated behind the counter, my hands shaking as I fumbled for my phone. I dialed the emergency number, my voice a tremulous whisper as I recounted the surreal events that unfolded. The operator, though calm, could offer little solace in the face of the incomprehensible threat that lurked within the vents. As I huddled behind the counter, the crazed figure in the vents continued its relentless assault. The police, though on their way, seemed like an eternity away from my desperate reality. The figure's limbs contorted further, as if defying the laws of anatomy. Its words, a deranged cacophony, became increasingly unhinged. The vents rattled with the force of its movements, and I feared that the very structure of the building might collapse under the onslaught. Time lost its meaning as I waited for the authorities, each passing second echoing with the frenzied desperation of the unseen assailant. The growls and screams became a symphony of terror, the very essence of the coffee shop saturated with an indescribable malevolence. The police arrived with an urgency that matched the gravity of the situation. As they pried open the vents and subdued the crazed figure, I found myself shaking, the weight of the night's events settling in with a bone-deep weariness. In the aftermath, the coffee shop stood as a testament to the horrors that had transpired within its walls. The vents, once overlooked, became conduits for an unexplainable menace that defied rational understanding. The crazed figure, now in police custody, muttered incoherent words of prophecy and doom. As the authorities escorted the intruder away, I stood alone in the coffee shop, the echoes of the night's terror etched into every corner. The neon lights flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with the remnants of the malevolent presence. The windows, once portals to the outside world, became barriers that separated me from the unfathomable horrors of the night. The 24-hour coffee shop, once a refuge for late-night patrons and weary souls, had become a battleground between the ordinary and the inexplicable. The vents, the windows, and the very air seemed tainted by the lingering shadows of a night that defied reason. As I locked up the coffee shop, the first light of dawn painted the horizon. The streets, once deserted, now hinted at the return of normalcy. Yet, the memory of the night lingered, a haunting reminder that the boundaries between the known and the unknown could be breached, and that the sanctuary of the night shift could descend into a realm of unspeakable horror.